I got the sweatshirt for Christmas, and it's a Panic at the Disco sweatshirt that was from Etsy, and I absolutely love it because not only is it comfortable, but it highlights one of my favorite bands, so it's a win-win. Hello everyone, it is Samantha and I hope you guys are having a fantastic day today. I'm here today for another 2018 reading video. Today I'm going to be talking about my favorite reads from 2018. I know some people like to do my top 18 reads of 2018, that kind of a thing, but I decided to just choose my absolute favorites from this past year and then share them here. So there's actually only 10 on this list, which was not on purpose, so I guess this is actually my top 10 books from 2018, so we're just gonna roll with it. The first book on this list is Fell Sword by Miles Cameron. This is book 2 in his Traitor Son cycle. And this one might actually be my favorite out of the entire series. There was just a lot of really intriguing revelations and exciting things that were going on in this book. And this series is really, really good. It's a little bit dense, but it's super good. And it's loosely based on like an Arthurian legend, so you can definitely see where the Arthurian legend influenced a lot of the story, which, as you guys may know, I love King Arthur stories, so no wonder I really enjoyed this book. So even though it's a little bit dense and they're very slow reads, I loved it. Highly recommend if you like a nice slow burn fantasy read, but this one was hands down my favorite from the series. My second favorite book on this list, which by the way these are in no particular order, they're actually in order of which I read them, so keep that in mind. But my second one on this list goes to Nevermore by Jessica Townsend. I love this book so much. I know book 2 is out and I'm going to try and buy it this week because I can't wait to read it. But this was a middle grade story and I found myself really enjoying it. Like, I enjoyed it as a 30-year-old adult, but I can tell you right now, if I would have picked this up at age of 11, I would have been obsessed. It had a lot of whimsy and magic to it, and I think that's what I loved about it the most. And it also just had a lot of hope to it. Some of the situations that the main character found herself in were a little bit, you know, scary and kind of hopeless feeling. There was still a lot of hope in the book and a lot of magic and whimsy, and I think that's what I loved about it the most. My next books on this list are books 1 and 2 in the Winter Night Trilogy by Katherine Arden. So The Bear and the Nightingale and The Girl in the Tower. I love this series. It was probably one of, if I had to choose my favorite books from 2018, these two would probably be it. So I can't really choose between the two, though I did actually like Girl in the Tower just a little bit more. But this series is amazing. It takes place in medieval Russia, and just the setting is very atmospheric. It has a lot of fae elements and a really strong main character in the form of Vasilisa. I absolutely love this story. It really captured my heart, and it was full of a lot of magic, icy whimsy, and I loved it to bits. The next two in this list are actually also part of a series, which is the Book of the Ancestor series by Mark Lawrence, and that would be Red Sister and Grey Sister by Mark Lawrence. To be honest, I was a little bit torn on Mark Lawrence. I wasn't the biggest fan of his first trilogy, which is like Prince of Thorns. I don't know. I have a hard time reading books with anti-heroes, so I wasn't the biggest fan of his books, but this one sold me on him again. This series is amazing. This is probably my second favorite reads from this year. I cannot wait to get book 3 this year. It's going to be amazing. And this series follows our main character of Nona, who is basically this orphan, and she ends up joining this convent where she can learn, you know, not only to become more educated, but also to learn certain magical skills. And it's set in a really interesting world that's basically being slowly covered by ice, and so people are kind of fighting for resources. And there was just so much intrigue and political intrigue and revelations in this story that I found myself really enjoying and really capturing my attention. So this is another favorite from this year that I highly recommend. Next up on this list is Foundtryside by Robert Jackson Bennett. This is a really new original fantasy series which follows our main character of Santia, who is a thief. But she has this really special ability that she can basically communicate on a certain level with inscribed objects. So the magic system in this world is really interesting because people use sigils inscribed on objects to change their properties. And she can kind of basically intuitively know and understand what these various sigils do and kind of outwit them. And this has to do with, you know, something from her past that allowed her to have this ability. But soon she, on a heist, steals this key, but this key is sentient and his name is Clef. And basically the story takes off from there. So what I loved so much about this book was the originality, the new magic system that Robert Jackson Bennett used, and all of the humor in this story. There's a lot of humor, and as you guys know, I love humor in my fantasy stories. So this one was definitely gonna make the list. Next Next up on this list was a fall release, and it is Sisters of the Winter Wood by Rena Rossner. This is a book that takes place in, I believe it's like the Ukraine in like the early 1900s, late 1800s, and it follows these two sisters who are part of a Jewish community, but they soon realize that there's a lot more to their past and their culture than they first believed, because they actually have the ability to transform into a swan and the one sister into a bear, and they find out that their parents also have these abilities. So they basically, when their parents leave to go to the deathbed of their father, so when their parents leave to go to the deathbed of their grandfather, they're left on their own, and they basically have to kind of discover themselves and who they are and what their family history is. So there's a lot of fae elements to this, and it kind of has this like darkly wintry magical vibe to it, which apparently was my theme for 2018 because those books seem to really resonate with me, not that I think about it. But this one was full of a lot of whimsy, and I found myself really enjoying it quite a bit. The next book on this list is a book series by John Scalzi. It's a Collapsing Empire series, but my favorite book from this one is actually book 2, Consuming Fire. This book blew book 1 out of the water, which is funny because when I first started it, I was having a hard time getting into it because it was moving a little bit slow, but the last like 50 pages were amazing. It was amazing. Like there was some stuff that happened where I was like, woo, did not see that coming, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And as per John Scalzi's usual, there was a lot of humor. So in case you guys don't know, if you give me a humorous book, odds are I'm probably going to like it. My next favorite book on this list is Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. I have actually never read a Laini Taylor book before, but I probably going to have to change that now because I found myself falling in love with this book. I think the thing that I loved about this book the most was how original it was, how new and fresh it felt, and just how full of whimsy and magic it was. You throw in Laszlo Strange, who is one of the main characters, who is this bookish librarian, book-loving, just fantastic, kind soul, and then the book is just made. It's a fantastic story. I really enjoyed it. It's a little bit slow moving at times, but overall, just the magic and the whimsy of the story really, really started to capture my heart and attention. And clearly, in addition to icy cold themes, whimsy was another theme for me from 2018. And my final favorite book from 2018, which is actually how I ended my year with this series, is the Spellslinger series by Sebastian de Castell. This is book 1, Spellslinger. I don't know why I waited so long to read the series, especially since I love the Greycoat series by him. I don't know why it took me so long to read this, but I have major regret now because it's amazing. And I finished the 4th book yesterday, or the day before yesterday, and the 5th book doesn't come out until May, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. But this series is a lot of fun. It is full of so much humor like his Greycoat series was, but it's just so wonderful. It's actually a YA series. It's his first YA series, but it's not like your typical YA. There's a lot of originality and newness to it. There's not a whole lot of romance. There's little snippets here and there, but it's not like the overlying theme. It follows a really likable main character. It has a lot of action and intrigue and mystery and humor and friendship. I always have to actually say the biggest theme from these books is friendship and accepting each other for our differences, and I loved everything about it. The plot's also kind of intriguing because it's like it's set in its own fantasy world, but it has a lot of like Western vibes to it. Hence Spellslinger. I just found myself really, really enjoying it, and I highly recommend everybody check it out. They're also super fast reads, which is a little bit sad when you just want more story, but there's none to be had because you have to wait. Alright guys, that is it for my top books from 2018. If you have read any of these, I would love to know your thoughts down below, and I would also love to know what your favorite read was from 2018. You'll have to let me know that down below as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you all have a wonderful day. Until next time, happy reading. Bye!